Hey, everybody, welcome to Robots After All. I'm Tom.
And I'm Andrew.
Here we are again for a wonderful episode. We're going to be talking about a show we both recently watched called Sweet Tooth. I think a lot of people are watching this. It just came out recently on the Netflix streaming service that is very popular these days. A lot of great content coming out. So, yeah, we both watched it. What are your first impressions? Full on spoilers, everybody. So if you haven't seen it, go check it out. So what do you
No
think?
holds barred. Yeah.
Yeah.
I loved it right off the bat. I watched it was one of those things where I was like, oh, I'll try one episode, see how it, see what it's like. And immediately got hooked, watched the second episode, watched the third episode. It was one of those things where I just kept watching until I was so tired that I had to, go to sleep and pick it up the next day. But yeah, I really liked it a lot. I thought that it was a cool, shift on a full an illness taking over and kind of a post-apocalyptic world. We've seen so many of those things. We just kind of went through that with the Army of the Dead, zombie movie where there's this like outbreak, and then we go into a post-apocalyptic setting. So
A show I didn't watch like before all. I think this was before all this. Well, actually, maybe I finished it right before the pandemic started. But The Strand was also kind of had those moments where. Are you familiar with this? The vampires that are like tentacle beasts inside of themselves.
I know it's based on a comic. I've seen the comics. I've not read them, and I haven't watched the show, but
The
definitely
show's
have.
good, but they do like the thing with the masks, and it's like but it's more of like a parasite.
Okay.
Interesting show. Um,
Yeah, I thought it was cool how they kind of took the approach of like nature reclaiming. Um, Basically there's an imbalance with the way that humans are treating the planet, and then there's this idea that if we were to blend animals and humans together, there might be some more harmony, or they would be more kind of mindful of the world around them. So I thought that was kind of a cool statement that, while at first glance feels heavy-handed, the way that it was delivered felt very natural, and it was very believable. Like I got sucked right into it.
right.
First
So
episode.
you seem to watch it. You binged it pretty quickly because I was kind of watching it uh a slower pace, and then I finally finished it a few days ago. But you seem to like really push through it.
Yeah, I
And
watched it in two sittings. It was literally,
wow, that's pretty good.
yeah.
Um, so right now on Rotten Tomatoes, it's 98%. On
Wow.
IMDb, it's like above 8. And I've just looked at this
Solid.
review, which is similar to what you were saying. He said, this person said, I made the mistake of watching the first 10 minutes before bed 6 hours later, and I regret nothing.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
clearly, it's just one of those binge worthy type of shows, which I do. On a side note, I kind of like what Disney Plus is doing, even though it's kind of like this hook thing of getting people to subscribe. But I like experiencing something with other people at the same pacing because it reminds me of that old school way of watching a show that you're really into and you could be at the same pacing as the other person. And then Netflix introduced like just dump it. And now
Yeah.
everybody, and then the next day you're getting spoilers from somebody who saw it all.
Yeah, well, I have, as you well know, and I'm strongly opinionated. I have opinions on this topic. I was just talking about this yesterday, but I do think that,
The how they the dump thing.
yeah, I was just
I like
talking.
to call it the Netflix dump
That's a nice little
trademark.
point term. I like to call it the best part of experiencing media since the birth of the internet. No, I like the Netflix dump, as you call it, because I can watch it at my own pace. I hate the idea of like sitting down after work and being like, "There's nothing I want to watch," and then being like, "Oh, there's only one episode of Loki out." So I'm not, I'm not even going to bother watching it, because I'm going to watch one episode. It's going to give me a taste, and then I'm not going to be able to. I'm not going to like get. Then I'm not going to have anything else to watch after that half hour. So,
Great.
um,
You fell into their trap,
well, it's not
Andrew.
really. I mean, think about it like this. 'Cause this is what I was talking about the other day. It's actually, uh, detrimental to Netflix to do the Netflix dump, because basically, think about how much time it takes to make a show.
Mhm.
and then people are just eating it up
Oh yeah.
in one sitting, right? That does not help their subscriptions. If they released it slowly, then you're guaranteeing subscriptions over the period of time that you're releasing it, versus like, let's say they did the Mandalorian like all in one shot, and people were like, I only want Disney Plus for the Mandalorian, but release it all at once. People would just like literally subscribe, binge it, cancel. So they had to release it one at a time. And Netflix is actually kind of doing us a favor. And I think that you'll start to see them move away from that model over time.
Yes.
And I'm going to be really sad when that day comes, because I think it's a plus that they do it that way, and it's actually not really helping their cause, aside from the fact that it's more convenient for us.
Yeah, I think that's an excellent point because Disney was new to the game. They needed that hook, line, and sinker to get people to sub. So Netflix, they've been around forever. I mean, they were doing the mail thing before streaming.
Yeah, I remember.
They were old school, like literally, they're old school, sending out DVDs.
They didn't have any competition until fairly recently, and I think that's what will drive the change. Is now that there's more, there's new kids on the scene.
Well, we got some new kids, all right. There's like a billion friggin' streaming server. I got
Yeah.
Funimation to watch DBZ. I haven't
Yep.
watched it since we talked about it.
And you still
That was like months ago.
Yeah. There's
like-
new ones every time I turn around, and there's like making up ones. It's like, I think there's one called Peacock.
There's Peacock,
Um,
NBC's, NBC's, CBS. It's like it's crazy, and this is like a whole topic in itself. But just the fact that because nobody wants cable TV anymore, everything's on YouTube, and then everybody's now trying to compete with that model of streaming services. So it's just like
I was a trendsetter. I canceled that shit in 2001.
what?
Cable.
Oh yeah, yeah.
You were there too. You didn't really have, when we lived together back then. Like you didn't have cable either.
I don't think I've ever paid for cable, if I'm going to be completely honest with you. I know some friends had the black box growing up. You remember this?
Yes. So what you're saying is you stole cable and you're admitting it on recording.
A friend stole cable.
Oh, this guy.
Man,
I get where you're going. Yeah.
no, I don't even know where you would get those, but my friend had one. Who will remain
At the prison.
And yeah, go over there and you could just get in a bunch of channels. Each black box was different. Supposedly you can get
like a Pokemon.
yeah, you get X amount of channels. Some you could get like tons of channels. I even had one friend that had satellite TV, which I mentioned in the anime episode, where you could get foreign channels. But yeah, crazy times growing up. Everybody trying to cheat the system. They still are.
You still are still stealing the medias.
But yeah, I'll say I do like that the Netflix dump. I do appreciate what Disney is trying to do too, even though it's kind of makes sense for them. So
yeah.
Anyway,
well, I will say that I've watched a lot of shows recently, and that's cute. I like that.
let me show you something.
There's a lot of shows out there. There's a lot of post-apocalyptic, motif-based shows, and I just feel like this one, it kind of ticked all the boxes in the right places. Like it's raising a concern. Like it was already kind of too real because it's like kind of pandemic oriented.
Yeah. Not too on the nose though.
Not too on the nose, but very much so. Like, okay, this is the life we're all basically living, and this is what if something was a little bit worse, could kind of look like.
Right.
But I think the thing that like really, there's two things that really kind of hooked me. And one was the fact that the main character, Sweet Tooth, is arguably one of the most likable children I've ever seen on film. He is adorable, super just with it, and like, kind of beyond his age in terms of kind of his awareness level. And even though he kind of doesn't understand things, like just his approach to everything is just, it was just a joy to watch. And
yeah,
he's
amazing actor.
Unbelievable. Because you're not even like thinking about the fact that he's acting. You just feel like you're kind of watching him in his natural habitat.
Expectations are always high for child actors, I feel, or as it is. So the fact that he was able to pull it off the way he did is pretty impressive. But yeah, like you said, like the setting, and I like that it's not, everything doesn't look horrible or dark. they're in kind of like this lush environment, and they're trying to obviously, like you said, they're showing off the fact that, like, you know, the planet is okay without having us around. In fact, it's better off in a way. And it kind of like, I've been playing Biomutant, and it's kind of nice to see a game, or like a post-apocalyptic setting so lush and green,
Totally. Yeah.
which is kind of nice. And yeah, so the show, it starts off with the father, and you have the hybrids, and it's when you first see the hybrids, like all the little babies, you're like, oh my gosh, look at all these little guys. And the
Yeah.
doctor is all shocked, and you don't know, it's a mystery at first, and you think it has this like bigger meaning until you get to like the end. And I don't know like how you want to go about talking about the season as a whole, but I think throughout it you're guessing what, like, where they came from. And at the end of it, you find out that it's just like a science experiment, basically, like kind of gone wrong. Did I interpret that right?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think that there's still some mystery in terms of where Sweet Tooth exactly came from. I mean, he was a baby that the person that he thinks is his mother, Birdie,
Mm.
had. That's all we've really seen, right? So we don't know where that baby came from. We don't know if that's her. I mean, I highly doubt they're going to go the road of it was her son that she experimented on. I highly
Right.
doubt that they're going to go the road where she just birthed this child and he was freakish, and then she just said, "Let me make this my life's work." I think it's more likely that he was either grown in a lab, which again raises some weird moral things. I feel like that's not, they can't just say like, we tried to create a hybrid baby. I mean, that's not going to sell from a writing standpoint. So it has to be something along the lines of he's some form of kind of miracle of nature, that he was the first of his kind, and then they studied him, and then maybe they were able to make more, or they accidentally made more by through that lab process. But I think his origin is going to be that Birdie was somebody like brought him to her, or she comes in contact with him in some other way, then it's her own son, or
Mhm.
which I could be totally wrong, but I just feel like there's
I thought
some
they
weird
said
moral
something
thing.
about. I thought they said something about the baby being injected with something. I feel like I need to rewatch the last couple episodes to maybe see if I missed a certain like plot point, but yeah, the stuff with the child is very fuzzy in my mind for some reason, but it could have been just like a miraculous moment. But it is strange that they have children. So that is a mystery that I guess we're still trying to figure out. And I feel so bad because that episode where Pubba, what is his name? His actual name, character name? I don't even know. Where he meets Birdie and they're in the bar. That was such an awesome moment.
Oh, so cool. Yeah.
And then all of a sudden it all goes haywire, and they don't even get to have like their loving like evening. It's just like, here, take the
Here's a
baby
baby.
and run away.
worst
Worst
first
make
date
out
ever.
first?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like literally the worst first date that you could
Not even a
possibly
hug, not
imagine.
even a little smooch,
Yeah.
nothing. Just take the baby and run.
And he went from like working as a janitor to suddenly being like a hermit out in the woods with like this child, this deer child who does weird deer shit.
Yeah, yeah, he's got super senses. And but first, it's like when they were kind of world building a little bit, and developing those characters, I felt like they could have done a little bit better with the dad figure, because I didn't feel that emotion when he passed in the beginning. Whereas I kind of did, but for some reason he just wasn't likable enough for me, especially when they notice a guard, this outside force notices him, and instead of trying to like hide, he's like goes out and gets kind of crazy and starts threatening him. It just seemed like the reaction you don't want to have if somebody's like there and spotted you. But
Yeah, he also has one of those faces. I think I was mentioning this before we started recording, that
I'm a demon.
that he has one of those like character archetypes where if he's in like a horror movie, he's the guy who like if that tries to make a deal with like the bad guys or something, and like turns on everybody to try to save himself. Like, he just got one of those types of faces.
Yeah, yeah, no, I agree with you. He does. But yeah, I guess after he goes away, and then it moves on to his own adventure. Gus, his own adventure, and escaping this world that he was kind of brought up in, like this capsule of isolation, and now he's just out there and gets into all sorts of crazy adventures, man. It's like he's meeting people for the first time. He doesn't know what stuff is. What
I
is
like
it?
the fact that he lights people's life up, though. You know what I mean? Like, he takes like the most. I mean, aside from the last men who are actually, not taking the time to interact with him or anyway, don't even know that he talks, which is another thing that's interesting, that most of the hybrids don't talk, but he talks. I love the fact that, like, when he meets Big Man, like, there's a whole transformation of that character where as soon as he meets him, he feels some type of connection with him or wants to help him right off the bat, because he sees this kid out in the woods by himself, and he's a hybrid that speaks, so he would have been the first hybrid he would have actually met who spoke. And the same thing with Bear, the leader of the Lord of the Flies group.
Yeah, the Lord of the Flies. Yeah.
So I like that it's not like in your face, but I feel like everybody that Sweet Tooth meets, like, he makes an impression on them, and they want to help him. It's almost like he represents this like pure goodness of humanity and like, earth kind, I guess, right? Like, because he is a hybrid. And it's like resonating around, with everybody that he meets. Even at the very end, when he meets the doctor is like on this mission to save his wife, to look for a cure. He's like ready to do these deplorable things, and when he sees Sweet Tooth, he's just like, not this one, get the lizard guy.
Yeah, get the ugly lizard child, and I'll cut his brain,
which is not any better, by the way. But
yeah, no, it's not. It's very disturbing and gets very dark at that point, and those are like the last few episodes. But yeah, when he interacts with the doctor and he sees that he's like not actually a child and he's older, even though like the gecko boy is like looks the same age, but
seemingly, yeah. And so does the pig girl. She seems like she's around the same.
Pigtails.
Pigtail, yeah.
I think that's her name. And
pig girl might be a little derogatory, so I apologize if I offend anybody.
I think it'll be fine. And he says thanks, and then at that point the doctor's like, what just happened? Is this real? And it's like it's very dark ending to that series, but he is, like you said, this beacon of hope throughout the show, where he's always just a positive good, and kind of like on the level of what is it, like Tom Hanks and Forrest Gump a little bit, where he just always sees the good in situations and is very hopeful. So he's just trying to throughout the show, I mean, he finds the picture of his mom, and he wants to get to who is Birdie, and tries to get to her, and finds out that she's gone. But even at the point where he's finding out the truth about his existence, he still kind of is able to maintain that light. And so throughout the show, I think that's going to be like his strong point. And the fact that he has these supernatural powers where he can communicate with wildlife is really interesting. Where the scene where he's with the Lord of the Flies group, and the tiger is going to come out and attack, and he's able to like talk him out of it, which is kind of neat. So there's
that was amazing. That actually, what's weird about that for me is I feel like that had a lot of gravity to it, when I thought that the Earth had actually kind of had him, had formed the hybrids as a response to kind of humans taking pollution too far, or kind of abusing the Earth too much. That felt like it had kind of a Princess Mononoke, or like, Avatar style kind of, feel to it. And then when I when you learn that he's basically like and I guess we don't know the truth, right? We still don't know if that
Right.
is actually like how he because they keep talking about how he's so special. So it's like we haven't really figured out what's so special about him aside from the fact that he's pretty much the first. But what does that mean? But I think I was kind of like more mystified by his, like why I don't understand why the deer was like coming to protect him if it's not really like if he's not actually like an Earth's defense response, right? Like I feel like there was this idea that the deer was trying to protect him because he is this kind of Earth child that is supposed to be this new kind of fragile new life form that the Earth was like trying to basically protect.
Yeah, that was such an epic scene, and that's early in the season where they meet this other family, and they share dinner with Bear, not Bear, the big man, and then some of the last men find them, and then Sweet Tooth is about to get attacked, and then there's this giant deer with giant antlers shows up, silhouetted from the lightning rain.
Yeah.
And like one of the most crazy scenes, like big man takes bear trap and like
and just starts
slams it.
Everybody, yeah.
I like how this show is balanced. It doesn't show like the violence. So it's a nice little change of pace from the stuff I've been watching where it's just like super gory or super super violent and sexy. This isn't violent. Yeah, and then so he meets that family, and then there's one of those moments that is familiar where he says, "Oh, you don't need to wear the mask around me. I don't have it. I'm not contagious." Right. And there's a lot of one of the big plot points of the show is that people think that the hybrids can spread the virus,
or that they were the cause of it in the first place.
Yeah, that they were the cause of it. So the dark point in the story, which I don't even know if you mentioned it, but they're trying this doctor, after there's been like a mass loss of life, I'm assuming they don't really go into the details, but the Earth's population is dwindled pretty much. And the doctor, they found a way to kind of cure the virus, but at the cost of sacrificing hybrids' lives. Now, they don't go into the process or they don't show anything what they do to these the hybrids. But
well, they do actually. I did actually pay attention to the doctor's notes. They basically there's a secretion from the pineal gland, which is many people think the third eye is in your brain, and then also the marrow in their bones. There's some kind of concoction or treatment. It's not really a cure. That's also amazing. That thing you're doing.
I was making some faces, everybody listening. Like and subscribe.
Like and subscribe if you want to see Tom make faces. So that's kind of how she's forming it, which in order to, the pineal gland alone is basically like game over for whatever the patient is. That's, you could do a marrow, you could do a marrow extraction without killing the child. Because people donate bone marrow all the time, but the pineal gland is in their brain, so that's
weird.
You have to actually kill the child.
Okay, so that's why he had like the brain, like the skull saw, bone saw thing at the end, and then the poor little chameleon boy was just like, oh,
tries to blend into the table.
Yeah, they don't show anything though, which is good. I'm glad they don't.
Yeah,
that would have been very disturbing.
It would have been distasteful too, for just for the feel of the show. It would have been out of pacing with the way the show was going. Can we talk about how all the hybrid children just look like they're in Halloween costumes?
Yeah, not great costumes.
No.
Except for Bobby, who like is the best character I've seen on TV in a long time.
So it's funny that you mentioned that, because Bobby I love Bobby. He's super cute, but he completely took me out of the experience because he's CG.
Really?
Yeah, it's just like
he's not 100% CG though.
No, there's some practical effects, like when he comes out of the bushes and they don't have to show his whole body.
Yeah,
but I think I just nailed the only time he's not CG.
I don't know. I thought a lot of it was. I wasn't taken out of it though.
I don't know why. It was something about it though. I mean, I loved it. It made me laugh, and he's super charming, and I like when he's like at the end of the sewer and he's like, Bobby Reddy.
Bobby Reddy. Hi, me, Bobby. So, well, you're gonna think this is insane because Bobby was like that like I became like super emo when Bobby showed up. I got like I pretty much cried whenever Bobby was around because he was like an
Innocent.
even more pure form of Sweet
Yeah,
Tooth because
totally. So innocent and
he was
amazing.
super innocent, and he's just the character like don't do anything to this character, don't harm this guy, please. He's the cutest thing on the show. And then
Yep.
at the end is where it really got me because they're all in this cell or this prison, and they all come together, and then Pigtail and Sweet Tooth kind of realize that each other can talk, and they kind of have this big group hug, and I was like, oh man, it was just a really heartfelt family loving moment. And then yeah, so that got to me the most, I think, out of the show. And
Yeah,
just
that,
like,
that actually hit. I actually teared up during that part as well because the narrator says something that I think is really important. That's like I think a lot of people can relate with, and that's the fact that
narrator was amazing.
yeah, he was. But he says something along the lines of like, your family is not just the people you're born into; it's the people that you kind of that you choose to make family along the way. And I think that when you're looking at it in that setting too, where it's like in a post-apocalyptic setting, it's like the people that are around just become family. Like that's it. That's your new family. So
Yeah,
I did
very.
like the fact that even though they were trapped, they were at least all together. So now they can move together. You know.
Yeah, very powerful message. And I'm curious like to see where they take this show now that they're all trapped, and the bad man, he got shot, thought, wasn't sure if he was going to make it. The lady, I forget her name, but the lady
Amy.
who also survived, who created the preserve, what's her name?
Amy.
Amy. She saved Big Man, and now they're going to try and save the all the hybrids. And I'll say that the another moment that really got me, I think emotionally, was when the fact that Gus is so pure, and I think when he was finding out how he was kind of created, kind of pulled at my heartstrings a bit too. But there are a few moments that really got to me, and they mainly involved Gus and his like pure innocence in reacting to and his reactions, or Bobby.
Bobby, the
Oh
he
my
was
god.
amazing. I loved him, but he did take me like when they showed him, I was like, oh my god. But
Yeah.
on the point that you're making, I wanted to say something real quick. The moments with Dog,
Oh,
where
dog, right.
what an awesome kind of literary device that they used with Dog. Like it showed a transformational moment with Big Man where he goes and puts himself in danger to rescue Dog. It shows that like that I think we've been there like when you're a kid and like you're still trying to figure out your emotions and you're trying to figure out how to process anger and like you might do something when you're a kid to something that as an adult or even as a teenager you would have such a strong sentimental attachment, but your rage is so kind of unfettered that you just react. And he just throws Dog in the fire and it's like, no, like you're gonna regret that for the rest of your life. It's like one of your only things that you have from your dad. And then when he finds out that about the lab thing, he does the same thing in the forest. He starts like tearing everything out of his backpack. And I was thinking like, oh my God, if he loses that stuff, like what a shame, because his father put so much work into all that. And we know as the audience that like, it doesn't matter that it wasn't his biological father. This guy gave up everything to save this kid, to raise this kid, to make him have the best possible childhood, to try to, bring him into, to humanize him and socialize him the best that he could, which he obviously did an amazing job because the kid's like lovable everywhere he goes.
Right. And I think using dog as that, because as kind of like a thing to show the audience, is something that anybody can relate to, because we all had something like that growing up, you know.
But
I had a Roger Rabbit doll that I would carry around with me everywhere. It was like almost, it was like this big. Is this good?
it was a size.
It was sizing, and it was nice. I carried him all around, and I have pictures of me with him, and I still have it to this day.
That's awesome.
I literally still have it. That and a Paddington bear that my mom made me, like sewed me. And yeah, it's just a super relatable thing that kids typically grow up either with an object or a toy or plush, and you get that attachment to something like that, like it's your best friend. So yeah, that was a really cool I don't even know what you call that story thing.
I'll call it a literary device.
Yes.
Literary device.
Yeah, you said that right. Yeah.
If only you paid attention when I talked.
Oh, whoops.
Whoopsie.
And I guess we should say that well, I haven't read the comics. I know this is based off a comic book. I've never read it. I've heard of it. I've heard it's really good, which I'm assuming is
clearly the source material has to be amazing at the show.
Have you seen what the artwork looks like though?
No, I haven't. Have you looked it up?
Because it is night and day. I'm telling you right now. The characters, it's very unique art style. It's kind of like, imagine kind of like these like Ichabod Crane looking characters.
Okay.
Very narrow and thin and
kind of like Dishonored, the game Dishonored.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah. And all the hybrids look horrifying. Like Bobby, I wouldn't even want to look at. He's just got his teeth are like huge. He's all mangled. So yeah, it's interesting. And I looked up.
No wonder they hate the hybrids. I mean, maybe that's the missing link in the story, that like it's kind of not believable that they would hate the hybrids, because people love babies and they love animals, and it's basically a combination of the two. I feel like people would fucking eat that shit up.
The fact that they made it, they would eat what up?
They villainized them in the show. You know what I mean?
Oh, right.
But like in reality, if there were hybrid and if there were cat children, like everyone would want to have one.
Yeah, I think, well, in the comic too, it's like justifies their action. It might justify their actions more if they're
right, because they're more hard. Yeah, exactly.
Because I mean, if you saw something like that in person, you'd be like, "Oh my god, this is horrible," because it wouldn't look as cute as they do in the show.
Right.
But they did do that for a reason, because you have Bob. Like, they want to attach you to these characters as a viewer, and it's almost like within the show they have their own reality. And us, they're trying to get us to sympathize with these hybrids more. Because if they made them ugly on the show, we'd be like, fuck those guys, kill them.
Yeah, well, now I feel like I've been duped, because the source not true to the source material, and we're supposed to actually, hate Bobby.
By the way,
I think deep down, I knew Bobby was good.
Look, Bobby is my love child. Well, I don't know what that means, and it sounds inappropriate, so I probably will cut that out. But no. What was I saying? Oh,
I think we were talking about Bobby.
I tried to think of
Trying to think of Bobby.
The word last recording or so, and it was suspension of disbelief. Not a word, but a saying. Suspension of disbelief. And I think that's what, I mean, any show, you need that, and I think I was talking about how when I see something like a movie I'm really into, I get emotional at the end because it's over. It's like you're losing that reality. And part of that is because you're suspending disbelief to the point of like, you're like losing your sense of reality. And I think that's why it's kind of like you get so attached, and then it's just credits roll and you're like, oh gosh, why do I feel like I've lost my best friend?
Can I give you some unsolicited advice? I think you should stay away from TV.
Hey man, Shakespeare warned us back in the days, like, don't suspend reality. You don't want to do it that long. He said he had something. Somebody will correct me on this. Shakespeare.
Yeah, that didn't sound like Shakespeare at all.
Shakespeare.
That sounded like.
He was the one who did the theaters, right? The plays. Yes. So it's like he's like, look, I'm doing a good thing here, but you don't want to live your life.
Not too much.
That's reality. Yeah.
Right.
Not too much.
But what's interesting about reality.
Cheers.
Is that a beer, or is that a Diet Coke?
It's a Pepsi. It's
not even a Diet Pepsi. Are you cheating on Coca-Cola?
I'm sorry. Okay, it was all the vending machine at work had.
I don't even know who you are anymore.
I'm pissed about it. Trust me.
Well, way to betray your actual love of Coca-Cola.
Always Coca-Cola.
But no, what's interesting about reality is that Yeah, I'm going back into this.
I just like you know what's
Point.
interesting about reality?
Well, that's what we were talking about.
I am
um
reality.
that regardless of whether or not you're in your everyday life or you're playing a video game or you're reading a book or whatever, like you're constantly perceiving reality in a subjective, instrument, which is your eyes, your ears, and your brain. And you're gonna have I'm gonna have a different idea of reality from you. And so what's one of the things I like about entertainment is that it's like you get to kind of exercise that muscle of like oscillating between different realities and realizing that there's all these kind of possibilities out there. I mean, obviously there's the fictional reality versus your everyday life that
Right.
is more real, but obviously the fictional world is a lot more fun to be in. So
We could be
but
in a
yeah,
fictional world right now.
I think this is fictional actually.
You think this is a simulation?
I think it is.
Are you a simulation theorist?
I think that
Believer?
we are the robots after all. Simulation.
And scene.
Speaking of robots, do we want to do the robot of the day
Oh yeah, I guess so.
in the
But
week?
I was gonna say, I think that's what makes video games and entertainment so popular. It's like, why do you want to be in a reality that's, I don't know,
Mundane.
plain and, yeah, mundane, and you're forced to work all day. And then you get into like a game like Biomutant and you're running around a little rodent. Oh yeah, you're also like a little hybrid guy, kind of.
You are a hybrid guy, and you're your own horse, so you can travel on all fours when you want to run. Pretty cool.
But you could get a mount if you want, and it's fun.
I haven't gotten that far.
I recommend Biomountain. Biomountain.
It's.
Well, I guess any final thoughts on Sweet Tooth before I get to the robot of the week? It ends at a cliffhanger, of course.
It does,
they're
yeah.
going to do a season 2.
I hope so. I hope that nothing silly or stupid happens. I was recently very disappointed to learn that Alita Battle Angel is not going to get a sequel. It seems like.
No, and I have another disappointment for you. Jupiter's Legacy.
Oh, really?
No sequel. Yeah, they
Wow.
didn't get it. People didn't like it enough, I guess. And it's sad because apparently, what I read is that they're doing a spin-off of that show, but with the villains. So I guess maybe they had that filmed a lot already. So they're just going to put it out. But yeah, I don't think they're going to do another season, unfortunately, because I like Jupiter's Legacy.
Yeah, I think that I think we had talked about potentially doing an episode on it, and maybe now we, even though it's not going to get a renewal, maybe it deserves a little bit of a review, because I do think that they did some things. They certainly took some nods from Watchmen and The Boys and those types of things, but obviously it was its own comic book beforehand. But I think the way that they adapted it to screen, it had the feel of those types of those approaches. But I really think it brought something special to the table, and it brought really good storytelling. So that's kind of a bummer to hear. Yeah. Well, thanks for destroying my hopes and dreams. Can you please?
Sorry, dude. Did you watch Alita?
I did. It was awesome.
Isn't it amazing?
So good.
That's another character that you really get emotionally attached to, because even though it has this uncanny valley effect, it's still really well done, and you kind of like it's I don't know, it's hard to explain, but it's very surreal, and you kind of feel for this little robot girl that he discovered and put together.
It's also like the girl power done very well. Like it's like she's such a badass, and like it's so believable that like she has this previous combat experience that's just kind of like, regardless of her amnesia, she's able to just kind of hone in on it, and she's better than the best kind of thing. Like the way that they film it all, it just looks so believable. So very, very cool movie.
Yeah.
And there's Christoph Waltz in it, who's like my favorite actor ever. He's amazing.
Oh yeah, the guy with the giant hammer weapon.
Yeah.
Yeah, when I saw him, yeah, he's a great actor. But another girl power movie, Annihilation. Did you ever watch that?
I love Annihilation.
We should talk about that movie. I should rewatch it, and we should talk about that one.
That movie is a 10 out of 10 for me. I feel like it's a very polarizing movie, but like getting back into the whole idea of segmented realities and the fact that there's kind of multiple facets of the same reality. I love the idea of DNA being basically split by like a prism, like and different realities forming, by that split. Like, what an incredibly cool
Yeah.
concept. Very underrated in my opinion.
Yeah, super underrated film. Definitely see Annihilation. We should definitely do an episode on that.
Totally agree.
Yeah, Alita, no sequel, unfortunately. They were trying to get a sequel for Alita Battle Angel, but I don't know if the fans were enough to really push it.
Which is crazy because I went into it with, I would say,
Yeah, you see, I'm sorry to cut you off, but you see Edward Norton at the end, and then like, okay,
Yes!
that's it.
Dude, I was so excited. I was so
Edward
excited.
Norton is like the evil doctor guy, scientist guy.
Yeah, I when he had the glasses on, I was like, is that Edward Norton? And then he takes the glasses off, and I'm like, that is definitely Edward Norton. I was like, that's crazy that he's like right at the end, thinking like there has to be a sequel. There's so much story to tell here. Like the world, I need to see more of it. Like it was just so the love story was throwaway, and not to do a little
Yeah, it was throwaway, but yeah, I would have loved to see more of that world because that was like great
awesome.
world building.
Super cool.
So I mean, yeah, sometimes the sporting thing was kind of but it was.
I was so glad that was not the whole storyline though, because I thought I saw that on the screen when I started the Blu-ray, and I was like, oh my god, if this is just like Alita works up to become the greatest motorball person ever, I was like, I'm not gonna.
that would have been wicked lame, but there was a lot of great movement, and that could be another episode too, talking about that movie because I haven't seen that since I saw it in the theater. But a lot of cool moments to talk about in that as well. And Edward Norton is another movie, Motherless, you should see.
Okay.
He wrote and directed this film. I think he did both. He wrote it came out 2019, and I think it's just like it's on Hulu, but or premium subscription Hulu. But Motherless Brooklyn, kind of but underrated. He has Tourette's, and it's like an underrated detective-esque film.
Okay.
Set in like the 60s, or I believe, or maybe earlier. But yeah, that Motherless Brooklyn, that's really good too.
I love Edward Norton. I think he's an amazing actor.
But yeah, but anyway, we went off a little bit. But yeah, Sweet Tooth was a great, highly recommend. Cliffhanger ending. They show the bomb at the end, which is neat. She's in Alaska doing her thing, trying to figure out,
trying to find more, more organisms in the ice to ruin the world with.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, were they a part of making the virus? Was that another thing I missed?
Well, I think it was discovered. So this is like my nerd is going to come out a little bit, but it's actually very common that scientists go out to Antarctica and they will actually take samples of the ice, to tell about the different ages of the Earth and different things that have taken place. Is how they've like been able to, make determinations about global warming. And so the idea was like they were out there kind of testing the ice and they found this organism. And then that was kind of, at least a part of the way that this all started, kind of thing.
Okay. I must have like spaced out during a lot of that episode that they explained it for some reason. But yeah, I'm gonna have to rewatch that. But yeah,
I think
great.
She's back out there trying to find another component to the cure, I think is what's happening.
Yes. And Bear is with the person who knew Birdie. Huh?
I said Bear is with dog.
Bear is with dog. No, they the big man has dog, right? Because Amy.
I was just joking because the names are so silly. Where it's like last man, big man, dog, bear, tiger,
pizza dude. Yeah. So yeah, at the end, she makes like her walkie-talkie radio device is able to signal to Birdie somehow. I guess because that was one she left with the other lady. I don't know, but they get in contacts, and that's where it kind of leaves off. So we'll see what happens if they get Birdie.
Very excited.
By the way, one more thing about Sweet Tooth. That scene with the Lord of the Flies kids in the group.
Yes.
That's a dream scenario, man. They got VR. How do they have electricity, by the way? Did they explain that? I don't think so.
They didn't explain that.
They got like 10,000 VRs, like a computer. They live in like the Matrix setup. And like, what?
Yeah, it reminded me of that scene in the original Ninja Turtles movie. Where,
yes,
that's all the kids like have like the arcade. They got the half pipe skateboard or whatever.
Yeah, with some menthols.
Yeah, you got these cigarettes. You want menthol or regular?
Menthol or regular? And he doesn't even answer him. They just like walk off screen.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like,
And then his kids are like, well, they have cigarettes.
yeah, whoa, these kids are smoking. What a terrible thing to promote in a Turtles movie.
Yeah, it was a
Anyway,
different time.
yeah. So anyway, okay.
Back when kids were cool.
Yeah, man. I think I might pick it back up again, to be honest with you.
Cigarettes or the Ninja Turtles?
Both.
Oh.
Dun, dun, dun. Oh, what's that sound effect? Do do do. That really dramatic beat drop in the Turtles movie. Dun 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 dun. Whenever there's something dramatic happens, I can't
I
remember.
believe you though.
All right, here's Robot of the Week.
Let's see him.
It is. I did a video on this with this guy in it. I think at some point. Here he is, Tomy, the bank automated bank robot. Do I have batteries in him? Let's find out. I do not. That's
Oh, he's dead. Oh, this is the saddest robot of the week ever.
yeah, he's not on, but
Yeah.
put money on him as a pound symbol because this is like the European England version, I guess, UK, wherever that is. His arms move up and down. He's got these cool eyes. It's kind of white. The lighting's kind of rough, but look at his eyes. Ah!
Whoa.
And then
Got a little tongue in there.
he puts the money in and his tongue comes out and then he bops up and down while he's eating it.
It's pretty cute.
Fun little toy.
He's basically the robot version of Bobby.
Exactly. Sure. Yeah, I guess so. Those eyes.
Look at him in the eye and tell me that I'm wrong. Look at oh, you're showing him on the
You can't even
camera.
tell me there's a God.
Look at Soul Connect with him.
Soul Connect. 1987. I used to have this growing up. Don't know what happened to it, so I rebought it on eBay like 6 or 7 years ago.
Was it really? So wait, so that's not the one. That's not the same one that when we were living together that you had, or is that?
Oh, maybe I bought it even longer ago. I could have swore I
think you've had
rebought it.
like 20 years.
Or maybe that was a dream. Do we
A
live
lot
in
of time has passed in our lives. But yeah, that's the same one. It's been a while, dude. You had that in like 2004, 2005 at least.
The Dreamers, Twin Peaks, The Return.
That talking about disappointment, man.
You were disappointed with that? I loved it.
Dougie
Was dope.
Dougie was disappointing.
Anyway, that's another episode.
No, we're gonna do
This part, this is the return to talking about Twin Peaks.
yeah.
I don't know. I just enjoyed it because it was just like so weird, and it was one of those kind of like what I said about Disney Plus releasing. It was just like a very the community at that time. It was so cool to be a part of it because I was even going to like Reddit message boards, seeing what people were thinking or talking about it. One of the coolest things about that series was the website. So the guy that was in Scream, I don't know the actor's name. He gets his head blown up in the show at one point by like the aura power. The tall guy, he was like a physicist or scientist guy.
Drawing a blank.
Anyway, he has like a website in the show. He mentions it. And if you go to his website in real life, there's like a website and it's super cheesy, like from the 90s and like all those stupid 90s like gifs and
Angel Fire, GeoCities.
Exactly. It was just kind of like a really cool surreal moment. And then there was another thing where they gave coordinates and people in real life were going to the coordinates and like getting in trouble.
Remember that? Let me say that I did enjoy it. I'm a massive Twin Peaks fan. I love the first 2 seasons. I'm a massive David Lynch fan. But it was just David Lynch has this like I don't know what it is, but he has this like drive to like make you feel uncomfortable to the point where it's like how Family Guy will just do a joke that until it's like not funny, and then they just keep driving it and keep driving it, and it gets to the point where it's like it's not funny until it's funny again. I feel like David Lynch will do this thing where he's trying to build tension and he just like draws it out to the point where you get exhausted from the tension, and then very rarely do you actually get the release. It's just about that tension. That's all he cares about is the tension part of it.
That is
he's
true.
not going to give you any payoff. And Dougie was a perfect example of that, where it was just like, Cooper is the most beloved character of the show. Fuck you, fans. You get Dougie.
Yeah.
And if you want anything that is some kind of semblance of
He's like
any semblance of Cooper, you get Bizarro Cooper, who's like
It's
dark.
so true. He loves fucking with
He
his
loves his
audience.
tension.
He's,
Yeah.
he's just
It's
like, here you want Cooper? Oh yeah, we'll give him to you in like the last few episodes. That's
yeah,
fine.
you get
Don't worry
like
about it.
lobotomized. You get lobotomized Cooper, and also like it was so unbelievable that he
But
would
it's
be.
so artistic. His methods are real.
Yeah, I love David Lynch. Hard for me to say anything bad about him. I think that he put Kyle McLaughlin or Glocklin or whatever.
McLaughlin, yeah.
He put him
He's
in a
great
really
in,
compromising situation.
He's great in Portlandia, by the way. If you haven't seen Portlandia, you need to. I think it's been on Netflix or Hulu forever.
Yeah, I've definitely seen it.
Oh,
I've seen
yeah.
No, I'm sorry. I've seen it on
He's
one of the platforms.
on the
I've
show.
purposely
He
never
is
watched
the mayor of Portland,
Okay.
and it's just he's amazing because he's a comic book character pretty much. It's just a cartoon. But yeah, I don't know. I think you're 100% right. He's the master of dragging you through the barbed wire or whatever that saying is, dragging you through the trenches, because until like, and then even at the end, it's like, okay, what did we do here?
It's like Monty Python and the Holy Grail, where like at the end of the battle, like they have this big battle or whatever, and then the cops just come and arrest them all and they take them away, and that's the end of the movie. Like that's what all these movies feel like half the time, where it's just like it's built up to this big thing, and then like somehow the credits are rolling, and you're just like, well, great. Now I got to go look up what the hell that meant.
Yeah, exactly. I remember at the very end of the episode where he's driving with the multiverse version of whatever her face is. They're just driving and driving. I'm like, okay. And I'm like watching the time, like how much is left on the episode. I'm like, please, come on. Give us something. Please have something happen. And it was really interesting at the same time, but then it's like they get to the house and she has that. I feel like it couldn't have ended in a better way though. Just like lights out, scream. They give her the giant scream moment again.
That was, yeah. I actually the end was haunting in a way that I didn't. I mean, we're getting into a whole nother episode now, but the end was haunting in a way that I didn't expect, and it actually had an afterburn effect where, which actually is similar to the original series. I feel like the last two episodes of the original series, hit me after I watched it. Like I was watching it, I was experiencing it, I was like, this is so cool, whatever. And then like it was like a delayed onset of really kind of processing what I had just seen and understanding kind of the Black Lodge.
But yeah, I feel like for me, the ending was the easiest to understand, or at least interpret in my own way, because I just felt like, okay, it's happened. They shut out the evil, and that's the end of it all. The lights went out, and it was like a big reset. And it was kind of like bridging the line between real life and the show. And I feel like a lot of what that show was bridging reality of watching the show or being in the real and then being in the show. And they were trying to bridge that gap and all of like its little intricacies of like reality between shows. And I don't know.
Exit.
It was weird, but I enjoyed it throughout. Anyway, yeah, that's been Twin Peaks mini episode. Maybe we'll do a full one.
Overtime.
Yeah, we got a little overtime. So, well, yeah, that's been it. Go check out Sweet Tooth. We loved it. Like and subscribe. Share it with your friends. Tell everybody you know. We're talking about stuff you want to hear. So, yeah.
See you next time.
Peace out. Where are we going? Bye.